Welcome everyone. Um, Welcome and selamat berpuasa to Muslims out there. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about how brands and what brands can do during festivities and crisis. Now, why we want to talk about this topic? Because we realize that we are entering a very, very unusual time. What do I mean by that? Emotions are usually very, very high during festivities, and we're talking specifically about Raya that's around the corner. But at the same time, we are fighting a crisis. We know about COVID. Assuming that the MCO is still going to be on during Hari Raya, during festivities, how can then your brand, our brand, help to play a greater role by anchoring these unsettled emotions? Yeah, so we want to talk about that. We want to see how we can do that, and at the same time, while doing that, we want to relate to our brand essence. We cannot be talking about things that's departing too far away from our brand essence. Today you will get two parts of the presentation. My colleague Alina will be sharing with us examples of how this has been done in the past, and then I will take you through on how we can find ways about on how the brain can find the right emotion space to own during this festive crisis period. Yeah, there will be Q&A at the end of the session, so drop your question at the chat box. Enjoy the session. Over to you, Alina.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Salam Ramadan to everyone who is observing it, and happy morning to everybody. My name is Alina. I'm the brand strategist, and I'm going to take you through the presentation. Um, Basically, about what just Rome just told you about and what you can learn. For those who are in different industries, don't worry. If you're in events, if you're selling non-food items, if you don't see your examples out there, not to worry, because this is a time for our community to get together and learn from each other, because at the end of the day, the foundations are still the same, and we're here to help each other. All right, so let's start. So, as you know, Malaysia celebrates both religious and non religious holidays. And this is a time when all our brands flourish and we connect with people. But as you know, the devastating effects of COVID 19, many of us are unable to hypothesize about the future. Some have gone to hiding, and some people are not sure how to plan. Now, emotions are polarizing. We're all angry or we're sad, but that's okay, because we're here to work this out together. Because usually during festive season, everybody's happy, but you know what? Celebration will never be the same again. So let's see how we can go through this. But just before we start, there will be a giveaway towards the end of the presentation. It is a proprietary IdeaScape brand tool that is exclusive for selected participants. So just stay until the end. So this is going to be really exciting. All right, what are we going to take away today? Number one, current consumer sentiments. For those of you who are in SMEs or don't have access to data, we will share a little bit of that. References to past war and selected crises. I think this is really exciting because we get to see what the past brand people or advertisers have done. And then we'll dig into consumer personas and insights. And you know what? This deck is not just about us, it's all about all the agencies and people who have shared so many webinars in the past 2 weeks. So we collated that for you guys. And then we look at tools to discover emotions for your own brand to look into, and what are the opportunities during this festive crisis situation. And as you know, Ramadan is just around the corner. I mean, it's here today, and Eid is just around the corner. There are about 20 million Muslims with the ability to spend at least 900 ringgit each at this time, and they will have a significant adjustment to their behavior. Now, it's not just about Ramadan, it's about other festive holidays. We all know how many Malaysia has. We have so many holidays. So there's so many opportunities for you guys to plan for. And but it will either create significant opportunities or losses for people. Now, let me just share with you Nielsen's 6 consumer behavior thresholds. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Nielsen, basically they provide data for brands or the market, sales, etc. Now, this is what is shifting. This is what everyone's gearing towards at this time. Number one, proactive, health-minded buying. You know, all your gloves, all your masks, all your antiseptics. People are very reactive about their health management, and of course pantry preparation, people buying all sorts of things, flour, rice, and preparing for quarantine living. So there's a lot of deliveries going on, etc. And then there's planning for restricted living and also living in a new normal, which is happening right now. So what do you need to do? We need to listen to consumers. How are they reacting? What kind of emotions are coming out? So we can at least hypothesize what the future will hold for everybody. Now, just a very quick two figures that are for me very very important is number one, on a global level, 62% agree that brands have an important role in fighting against this pandemic. Now, this is really cool because some of us maybe think now maybe people don't really want to see brands, but that's not true. But having said that, there is a future of brand trust at risk. Now, what do I mean? People, about 71%, so this is global, 12 countries, Asia and Europe, they say that if companies and brands are placing their profits before people during this crisis, will lose their trust forever. Now, that's a big deal. So keep that in mind. And let's look at emotions, the whole reason why we're here today. Um, the emotions that we are looking at, sadness, anger, fear, and kindness, are all very relevant to how you guys are going to craft your communication, as well as those who are in events. How are you going to approach your client during this difficult time? Now, one thing that we believe is very important is for each and everyone to see which festivity is it that you want to tackle. And when you tackle these festivities or holidays, and there are many in Malaysia, you need to take a look at what social activities are going to be affected. So analyze it. So we came up with a few things. We came up with, visiting graves, and that's a big deal. Praying together, that's another big issue at this point in time because people want to be able to pray together. Giving money, eating together, human touch, hugging. How are we as a brand community going to address this moving forward? So, I would like to inform you guys that while there's all this craziness going around, it's really important to assimilate. Now, assimilate is basically putting together future emotions of hope and happiness. Do not forget the end game, because the end game, every human being wants to have hope and be happy. So we will get there, probably not in the next month or two, but that's the end game. Now, let's look at this very exciting stuff that I looked for. Our brands and consumers in the last new normal. Now, we're all familiar with the SARS outbreak in 2002. What happened then? Key takeouts for you guys as brand custodians. Number one, take care of your people. People are watching you as businesses. They want to know that you are taking care of their health and safety, and not just allowing them, to let go of them or mistreating them. Number two, businesses who are looking internationally may want to look locally because opportunities are shifting, or maybe those who are local want to look internationally. Number three, working together comes out a lot. Yeah, same like this presentation deck. We didn't do this on our own. It's communities coming together, sharing information, gathering them, and making them something useful. And of course, increase in health and sanitation awareness during this time, and effective cost control to ensure there's some sort of cohesiveness within the industries that we are working. And of course, a situation that just people will never forget is actually 9/11. And it was a time where people were very vocal about brands. Brands are not obligated to have feelings or express grief, basically, is what they said. But you don't know what we feel, so don't go out there putting your brand out there. I had this really cute example on the left side that you see is Time Hop. And it's very cute because it you can see the emotions that are coming out without being so aggressive or putting the brand forward. If you are driving business forward, if you are seen that way, you were respected at this time, and staying close to consumers, because just like COVID-19, 9/11, it was basically people were progressing into different types of emotions. And the most important thing for all of us is actually to have a crisis communications plan. And even though we don't know what's going to go on, there's no harm in doing certain scenarios, making up certain scenarios to see where can our brand be? What can we do in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? And this is pretty cool because for those of you who weren't around at this time, basically during World War I, and exactly what you see right now, brands like Bovril, HP, M&Ms. I didn't even know M&Ms was there back then, but these were things that were care packages inside at the front line. And this is what you see right now, and I'll give you some examples later. And can you imagine back then, nurses and doctors were heroes, and people or brands that focused on these individuals had very strong a strong brand affinity. Now, for the baby boomers, basically those born in the after the 1940s, you can see condensed milk and Milo. And when you ask people who lived that time, they still remember these brands doing good and contributing to society. And of course, one big takeout from advertisers back then was actually to always have the end game that there's a good life and there's enjoyment coming up. Again, we don't know when that's going to happen, but always remember that so that we have hope. And pretty cool things here. Of course, it's all around packaging of food products. So don't worry if your brand is not a food product. If you are in paints or you are in events, the same foundations still hold very true. Yeah, looking at the emotions of your clients, how can you plan um, to communicate to them? Now let's look a little bit at activation, because I think some people like to do activations, but probably not sure how to approach it. So we took a look at a few things, and this is from an ADA webinar, which was really awesome. Number one is to be a source of truth, yeah, and be positive about it. This is fantastic. A fantastic example of Lifebuoy. The moment COVID hit, they just wanted the message to go out to please use the soap, the best soap nearest to you. It wasn't even about our soap, it's about soap. They even put their competitors out there. And Lush in London, before the lockdown, they allow people to come in for free to wash their hands. And their last example is something very different, where you can see apps and people going digital. This is actually a virtual artificial intelligent caregiver. Now, is this a business that you guys can move forward into, because things are going to happen offline? I'm sorry, online. And then showing empathy and relief through emotions. You have Moda, which is the Designers Association. They were doing protective gear for frontliners. That was awesome. And one of the unsung heroes are actually super home citizens. I don't know if you guys know, so many mothers or fathers or grandmothers are doing face masks and cooking food for frontliners. And perhaps this is a group that you guys can take into consideration. And on the right side, Gardenia, Numi, lots of brands, Nestle brands, they donated food in a very subtle and very caring way. So use tone appropriate messaging when you're doing activities like this. And this is pretty cool. Does your brand play a role in ensuring people are using their time constructively at home? So there's a lot of routines. You're stuck in a house or an apartment with people or yourself, and you don't know whether to wake up at 12 or later or earlier. So apps such as Sleep Miracle or influencers who do exercise routines, so helping people make them feel better about themselves, is something that you want to look into. It was difficult to find brands communicating during festive seasons, because it's not easy, yeah. But we managed to find a few, and there's two for Christmas, for example. And you can see, um, the Naval Postal Services, which is equivalent to Post Malaysia. So, you know, they were talking about sending gifts overseas. And you can see it's quite cute. This was in the 1940s. So it's a little bit different than how we communicate. And or Christmas together, have a Coca-Cola, welcoming a fighting man from home, from war. Is it something that we can take a look into for the frontliners right now? And for Eid, yeah, I'd like to focus attention on emotions and subtleness of brand communication, where you can see one wild card. It's all about sumptuous feast, but also making it go round. Coca-Cola, very subtle. All these communications are executed in countries where people have war every day. So it's not a place where you want to be overly cheerful. Now, let's look at consumer insight. Now, for bigger brands, perhaps you are very, you know who your consumers are. But let me share with you a little bit about consumer insights, which I found quite interesting. Again, going back to ADA, when what we've learned was right now there are consumer clusters happening at home, which is really cool because there are about 9 over here. So it's similar to segmentation. Now, the difference is they are also interlinked. Let's take a look at an example. So you have, let's just say a resilient one, yeah, the one to the right. So someone who's resilient, they use apps about, being positive. But that doesn't mean that in the next week she cannot move into the category of the sad and the confused. Yeah. So this actually means that it's very fluid. Now the only way you can figure out how can I figure out, isn't it just one? Well, not really. You have to use social listening. You have to use certain online tools and observe your consumer. Where are they right now in terms of emotions? So this is critical in the way you craft appropriate messaging for whatever, whether it's a POSM, whether it's something on social media. Make sure you understand, at least have some data behind what you are creating. So I'm just giving an example. The health nut just now, someone who loves health and is one of my favorite brands. It's a local brand, Langit. So basically, if it's during Raya, perhaps it's basically telling people how they can create great food with minimal calories. So because they have red rice, they could do something like that online. Um, Another favorite local brand, which is Rimba Hills. This is for the sad and confused one, and this is fantastic. When I saw this, is it's an opportunity to provide gifts, but the way, if you see how they communicate, it's a gift from nature, very calming, and it improves your mood the healthier way. It's very, very reassuring and not so aggressive. So you can take a look at these messages, which are very, very comforting. So finding the right message for your brand to own. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that, Rome. Oh,
Okay.
Rome, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Alina.
Sorry about that. You have to go back.
Yeah. I'm okay. I need the screen here. Okay. So thank you, Alina. So we have seen the different roles that brands can play during festive and crisis times. And right now, we want to focus on emotions because these are the underlying thing that is the same during festivities and during crisis. What brands have can use here, what we want to talk about is emotions. So how can we use emotions, and what are the tools that we can use to discover the emotions that we want to use or we want our brand to own? Yeah. um First, reference, let's look at the one that's around the corner, the festive that's around the corner. um Look at Raya. Let's find the emotions that's associated to Hari Raya. And Raya, Alina mentioned earlier, it's all about, there's a lot of emotions about love, about elderly, about togetherness, respect for the elderly, fun, um, and appreciation recognition is all about us going back to our parents, the elders, and ask for forgiveness. So these are basically some of the emotions involved during Hari Raya. But there's one more which is very unique, and that's about challenge winning. And this is about um, apa ni? A war, spiritual war that we we have overcome during Ramadan for Raya. Hang on a second. I think I've gone in a bit too far into my presentation. I need to, excuse me, I think I need to explain what these cards are first. I went into far. Okay, sorry. Let me reverse back. Finding the right emotion for your brand to own. Now, the tool that we want to use is actually that we want to introduce to you is a research that has been done by brand specialists, Professor Kim Kramer and Alexander Queenie in 2014. They went ahead and have research, and it has shown that there are 24 emotive drives that is helping us to find what are the underlying emotion that drives certain behaviors. Yeah, so when triggered, these drives leads to the type of emotions, and understanding this emotion makes it easier for brands to curate experiences. Yeah, so having that, they put that into a tool, and it is 24 cards. That's a physical card, but now it's available online. Now with this tool, we can help to identify what drives a person, what drives a brand, and even an organization for that matter. Yeah. um, and these cards are something that is common, is used for everyone, and it's been tested, so it can be used to help us identify what can the brand own to build relationship with the target audience. Yes, yeah. And so, and when we want to use this tool, now let's get back to where I was at. Um, Using this tool to discover the brand that the emotions that we can own for our brand during this festive and crisis season, we look at Hari Raya. And Hari Raya, I mentioned earlier, the emotions that associated to Hari Raya is a lot about love, it's about togetherness, it's about respect, it's about fun, relax, carefree. It's an enjoyment period. Yeah, and it's also a time where we pay respect to our elderly, and this card specifically is a card that shows that this is a celebration where we achieve victory over our spiritual war. During the whole 1 month of Ramadan, we are fighting a war of nafsu. It's inside us, and the symbolic aspect of Hari Raya is about overcoming or victory over that war, and therefore Hari Raya is a celebration for that. After we have identified these emotions through these cards, we now next move to what are the emotions that's associated with crisis, and in this instance it's about COVID. Yeah, so COVID, Alina mentioned earlier, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of fear, anxiety, but again, COVID, the emotion that's highly unique about COVID is that we are fighting a war against a virus called Corona. Yeah. So that's the card challenge winning there. And the emotions that's also suddenly emerge is wellness. A lot of people are paying attention to sanitization, to cleanliness, to health and nutrition, eating well, immunity, boosting your immunity, and there is a lot of suppressed emotion about not being able to go out there and experience the world. Life is suddenly restricted because you're under lockdown. So the opposite of being independent, the opposite of unbound would appear. So this is a card that reflects that emotion, yeah. And there's also a lot of feelings, sentiments around creating a better world, people turning to become more spiritual, um, um, being loneliness to stay together and to be safe and secure. So these are the cards that we would pick to depict what represents emotions around COVID. And previously, we saw the cards that was depicted, that was chosen for emotions around Raya. Now, overlapping the two cards, overlapping the two emotive drives, we will see that there are cards that's uniquely Raya, and we will also see cards that's uniquely COVID. Yeah, they don't share the same space, but there are cards that's sharing the same space in the middle, and these four cards are would be able to help us to coin certain communication idea or activation ideas. We can already take this and run away and do things around these kind of emotions connected together, safe, secure, play, fun, and the fact that we are fighting spiritual demon and physical demon. Yeah. But however, what I would like to stress is that we need to ensure that our brand essence are respected, are protected when we are doing our communications and our activations. So what we want to do is actually take these overlapping emotions between Raya and COVID, yeah, and put on another layer of emotion that is very highly linked or associated to your brand. And here I've hypothetically picked six emotions that is representing brand XYZ. Yeah. And this brand XYZ is about, the brand essence is about warm, caring, order, structure, putting some kind of order and structure. It's a brand that promotes wellness. It recognizes your contribution to your family or your existence in the society. It's a fun brand and it's authentic and it's identity, not like the rest. Yeah? So let's assume that this is the brand essence for brand XYZ, and you want to combine and look at these overlaps, and you'll be able to suddenly see that a lot of overlaps, right? There's a lot of similarities again. So you want to bank on the highest uh, point of relevance between this emotion during festive crises and the emotions that people have about your brand. And you can come up with several campaign ideas. Now, what I've done is I've gone one step ahead and I've tried to show you what possibly can happen as a result of having these combined cards. We can have a campaign that's talking about a lot about spirituality, about God, how Allah grants victory to people who persevere. And this year is a true celebration, and it's a different kind because it's victory over the obvious and the not so obvious. Yeah. So you can anchor your big idea around there, and or you can have this other story. We were talking about new normal, and you can write on new normal and therefore new celebration. And this is the triumph that marks a new meaning to fun and enjoyment, because this is the time when we can infuse wellness into the way we celebrate. Okay. um, I can already come up with a lot of thoughts. The health nut, Alina mentioned earlier, was is a good example of this idea right now, with these three cards combined. Yeah. Another campaign idea could be about love. Being apart makes one value relationship more. We are far, we could be not together, but that doesn't stop our hearts from beating together. So this is a very emotive angle. Now, what I've done is I've shown the possibilities of um, key big ideas that you can derive from understanding the emotions behind festive crisis and the emotions behind your brand. And the cards are simply tools to help bring to surface these emotions so that it's easy for us brand managers or brand owners to work around it. Now, this doesn't stop here. What happens after this is usually you would need to take this and work together with your creative team to develop creative executions, to develop your communication posters, your messaging metrics around these key big ideas for your brand during festive crisis season. Yeah. So what have we what are the main takeout that we can take from the sessions today? We definitely see that brands are playing a bigger role beyond just talking about products. In fact, brands that is selling products is risking trust. We saw that earlier. So this is not the time for us to talk functional, talk rational. It's not about product stories. It's about brand and it's about emotion. So definitely, we have seen that brands over the years have played a big role during this time, and it's an opportunity for us to do the same. And what can we do? We can anchor the uncertain emotions, um, the unsettled emotions, I mean, and assimilate hope and happiness. That's definitely something that we can do, and we can find a space specific to our brand to do that. We can focus on delivering solution with compassion. This is the time when we can actually invest on building relationship and strengthen advocacy and loyalty for our brand. This is the time when we can get up close and personal with our consumers via social listening, even using these cards with the consumers because it's now online and it's available for you to unearth what are the deeper emotive drives around a certain topic which your brand can hop on later. Yeah. And we can find the highest overlapping emotive space that your brand can uniquely own, but um, bear in mind while doing that respecting and keeping to the brand essence. So this is basically what we can do. We can use this tool that this is a sharing of how we can use this tool, and this tool is now available online. And what we want to do is we want to offer to five um, we want to offer five complimentary sessions to you, and you can do it by sending the first five who send your interest, register your interest at ideas at info@ideascape.com.my. Do it, and we will get in touch with you. We will do the session online with you, respecting social distancing. Yeah. So I hope that has been useful for you, and we will now look at some of the questions that you may have.
You guys have any questions? If you don't, you can always drop us a line later. Oh, there's someone here. No.
Yes. Hi, Hui. You have a question.
Okay, wait, let me just switch on my video.
Oh, we is that you?
Of course. It's me.
Hello.
I was just looking at the wheel, right, with the happiness wheel, with the happiness right in the middle,
Yeah.
right? And when you projected it on the feelings of how people are feeling with COVID today. Um, Obviously, the COVID emotions are negative, right? It is not leading to that happiness. So when you are actually doing this brand exercise of linking the emotions, is that, do you also do you kind of reverse and say that, okay, people may be feeling negative at this point in time with regards to COVID and everything, so these are the negative emotions, but the basal feelings are actually of security, for example, or of confidence, or of freedom. Is that how you link it to the
Definitely. Yes, yes, definitely. True. The value, the cards, we don't have negative cards.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do negative cards, because what we want to do, let me go one step back and explain the psychology behind it, is that everyone in this world uh, wants to achieve happiness. So we want to look at what are the drives to happiness, and these are the 24 emotions. So when you're looking at a negative situation, you look at, maybe they pick one card because that's one emotion that they aspire, or one emotion that they want to achieve. And when they talk about it, we can unearth, it's like peeling the onion, we can unearth the negative emotion that's linked the opposite of it. So the sadness, the anxiety, the fear will all come up. But anxiety could be because I'm locked down, so my independence are curbed. Anxiety could be linked to health and nutrition, because I can feel that I need to, my immunity is not so strong right now. So that negative emotion may have several root drives, and these cards are not the emotion cards; they are the drives to the emotions. So we want to uncover the emotions like that.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Queenie.
your question.
Thank you. I see a question here from Cindy in terms of local examples of past crisis in terms of brands who managed to communicate well. Well, basically, let's look at now. Perhaps it's nice to take a look at some of the brands, and I think the brands that I wouldn't say reacted, but actually responsibly reacted. I mean, communicated or reacted, I guess, immediately after this crisis were usually the bigger brands who have a lot of support in terms of public affairs or processes that allow them to communicate properly. So one of them is actually Nestle. Yeah, Nestle was one, and Gardenia was definitely a brand that I showed. How did they react to certain the crisis? I think being very open and very personal, like Rome was saying, it's a time to sort of get to know them. Listening to them is critical. So what they did was they did donate. They did give food products accordingly, but it wasn't very very loud. Yeah, where I think sometimes local brands, the ones that I've seen, can be quite loud in normal circumstances. If you donate something, you're in the middle of the newspaper and you're shaking someone's hand. I think a lot of these bigger brands, because they know how to manage it, there was a little less of that. Or even community brands right now, even your Grab, etc. I mean, Grab is a great example where how did they line everybody up? The head, the lead, the team lead gathered all his team members, meaning the people who are delivering food, or making sure that they have their interest at heart. They have the interest at heart, because if you ordered something through Grab, there's a little fund that could be given to them. So that is a local brand right now as well, smaller, but they did it very well. And the leader is always up front. That's very important, because it gives people a sense of certainty, and they trust the brand that way. So I think those are some of the ones that I can think of right now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hi, no problem. Okay. So Ah, Hui said cycle and carriage is doing some comms that's totally unrelated to cars. So yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of pivoting companies right now, right? Rome, can you give some examples?
Yeah, companies not only pivot their products and services, they also pivot their comms. So in this time, when you are talking about your product, it would some come across as you're being insensitive. We saw that 71% of people would tune off or even lose respect if you are putting profit at this point of time. So I think if anything at all, the message that should you should take home today as a result from this webinar is that this is the time for you to pivot your communication to talk about something other than your functional deliveries from just your product. And so, therefore, the challenge is what is the brand story that we can own? What is it that we want to talk about that will relate to the consumers, to our target customers, that is not departing away from our brand essence? that's not that's not derailing us from what we are all about. Yeah, so that's the fine balance that brands have to do. And what we are doing today is sharing a tool that can help you achieve that.
Before, if there are no more questions, I just want to share, because I see some of the people or the brands that are actually attending this webinar. Thank you very much. Again, events. I think there was some guys from Nippon Paint. Again, I think for events, let me try to relate a little bit because I think we're looking at tangible products. Your consumers are actually your clients. So more than anything, it's very important to listen to them and be in touch with them. So treating them a little bit how retail treats their consumers. So your clients are the people who are not doing events anymore. So what are you going to do? You need to speak to them, understand them. But at the same time, because they're also consumers, you today can understand how they're feeling. But at the same time, one of the examples I showed, I mean, don't be afraid to actually look into the future of doing things online, events online. This is actually an event. This, we, it takes a lot to just do a webinar, for example. Is it something that you guys can do in the near future? Nippon Paint. I mean, some people might think, oh my gosh, no one's going to be painting their house right now. But I beg to differ because right now is the time when people are in their house and what can I do? Colors, I think of Nippon as colors, and that's beautiful. So I just wanted to share that with non-consumable products.
Not
Yeah.
FMCG.
Um, Hi.
Yeah,
Hi.
hi.
Hi, I would like to say hi to Rome and Meili here from Perspective.
Hi,
And
May.
thank you, Alina, for a great
Hey.
presentation and to
So
Rome as
sweet of
well.
you. Thank you. Bless you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share because you mentioned Nippon Paint. So yes, so Nippon Paint obviously is very far from consumers' mind about painting their house. But we are now focusing on a very different angle because Nippon Paint actually has developed an indoor wellness guideline with the Allergy Association of Malaysia. So we're not talking about paint. We're talking about how Malaysians can keep their indoor clean and healthy following a guideline that was developed. And this is quite timely for Malaysians because everybody is staying indoor now. So that is the focus of the messaging for Nippon Paint. So you can see some of the news already out there, but thank you for your presentation. So we will be looking at how we're going to re-innovate and build on that leverage. But my question to Alina
Okay.
is much as we want to do storytelling and care for the community, um, there must be some brand messages as well. So how do we balance between, communicating a little bit about the brand and product messaging still, but also, sincerely showing
Care.
appreciation and gratitude? Yeah.
That's a beautiful question. Very nice. Could you give me probably a tagline or one of the campaigns? I mean, just something about Nippon that you want people to think. I mean, to think of. Tell me something.
Yeah, so the messaging now is safety and wellness. So we're trying to keep children safe and
Okay.
keeping individuals safe,
Okay.
because there are products related to keeping indoor safe in terms of air quality. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, probably nothing immediate, but what does come to mind is like, because we're talking a lot of people about people helping, yeah? There's a lot of donations, etc. One thing that I know of is that there are a lot of companies working with NGOs, not just directly giving it to people because NGOs know how to manage the supply chain. I think of paint probably the same way. I mean, if like you said, health and wellness, yeah, probably not immediately, but perhaps something you could even think about in the next few months, where let's just say a charity home, yeah, a charity home where that needs painting, for example, and you provide them with some paint, beautiful colors, and they can actually bring the community together to paint. Of course, with social distancing it's a little bit challenging, but is there a way to combine goodness, doing good for the community, putting your product there, and also saying health and wellness, because when you paint, you're it's actually it's an activity that's quite strenuous, and I think it's how you build the events. Yeah, going back to events, it's not just the POSM or putting something online, but it's actually actions. Yeah, or when you video something, is it going to bring out that brand essence of Nippon, which is health, wellness, but beauty and helping the community. So that's an example that I can think of right now, if that helped you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We've started to pivot our comms, so we'll be working on more. So thank you for your presentation. Yeah.
Meili,
Most welcome.
Yes, Rom. Hi.
hi. May I suggest, shall we experiment, okay, using the cards, the 23 plus 1 cards, and we can do this online, yeah? Emotions, because you talk about communications, right? Not so much activation, but communications. Emotions around safety and wellness at
Mm,
home, emotions around paint, and emotions around Nippon. And
yeah.
let's look at the overlap. And let's see, it's something fun. We can just experiment that, shall we?
Yeah. There are a couple of Nippon people on the call, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I don't know. You're doing it now or
No, no. It's something that we can do offline,
yeah,
not here
offline.
now,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just suggesting because where the key thing that I took out from your question is how to comms.
Yeah.
Yep, and
Yeah.
how to comms in a meaningful and compelling and uniquely your brand.
Different. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we don't want to comm something that someone else has owned that space. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Thank you
let's.
so much. Thank you so much.
Maybe I can also add something. I mean, just listening to what you were saying, right, about working with the Malaysian Allergy Society and stuff like that. Another way to actually bring your product in is you do have a range of products, for example, that are odorless or whatever that's free from some harmful chemicals and stuff. And I think you can just kind of subtly weave that kind of message in to your comps, right? So the Malaysian Allergy Society, and then at the end you just have a one-liner that's and we have products that are, I don't know, ammonia free or whatever free, right? I'm not really familiar with paint, but that's how you can also weave in that message that's related to how you're pivoting your message about staying safe, staying healthy, but yet bring your product in a very subtle manner. And as Alina says, right, they may not be thinking of it now, but in future,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It is that thing that, hey, it's going to trigger the memory that, hey, actually,
Nippon.
Nippon has such allergy
Yeah.
free products. I mean, understanding from a very commercial point of view, yes, you're right. We can't just be doing nice, fluffy stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Nothing can be emotional at this point in time. Everything is about revenue. So that is also one way of looking at what range do you have and which range is going to be then your hero to be
Right.
able to bring it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
so in fact, I mean, just to share with the participants here as well, we also work with a lot of key opinion leaders. So, for example, like
Good.
Dr. Rajbans, who is the president of the Malaysia Wellness Society. So he helps us to seed out more expert advisors so that we don't, be very product focused, but we actually really seed out sincere comms and content that are educational for the consumers.
Right. Fantastic. Okay, we have a question from Stephen Chan about events. Okay, possible if you could share an example of emotional appeal that events can do to appeal its consumer besides getting closer to them and in general to advertise to the market. So again, and I probably can share. There was Bill Gates who wrote about this situation, and events was one of them. Right now, no one can get close. There's no way you can do events. But as I was mentioning just now, this is already an event. And of course, it's not an emotional one. But something that I can probably think of right now is that Hari Raya or birthdays, of course, it's not huge, but like event companies who are servicing larger corporations, like let's just say Maxis or Citibank, these guys usually have, let's just say, family days. Yeah, family days which you organize. Is there a way that you can think about a way to do that remotely or online, and use that as an emotional opportunity to inform people that you can actually uh, do an event offsite or digitally, but have the feeling of being connected, or how families can get together online for Maxis, family day in the next 2 months, but not necessarily on on a field or in a big hall. I think what is good is actually even at home, even with your friends right now, try and see what kind of emotions are coming through from smaller events at home, and how can you amplify it to bigger companies, because there's so much emotion right now. Like right now we're excited, we're a community, we're sharing this. That in itself is an emotional appeal. But I've seen people talk when, let's just say, if they lost their job or something, and they've talked to 2 to 3 people, and that in itself is an event. When you sit down, you can have a Coke together. You can see so many types of emotions come out. Now, perhaps that can help you guys sort of brainstorm. These are the kind of emotions, these are the kind of sort of family, friendship, communication that's happening. How can we make that into a very cool event in the next month? So I hope that that is something that is helpful for you. And if you want more questions for events, I'll be more than happy to help you.
We will
Right.
take one more question
Yeah.
before I think we wrap up.
Yep.
Anymore, or if you have any, if you would like to just have conversations around this topic more,
Yeah.
do let us know. You know how to reach us. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Much love, and take care of yourselves, and see you in the next event.
Take care. Stay safe. Selamat berpuasa. Bye.
Yeah, selamat berpuasa. Bye.